Yeah, today we're honored to have Dr. Professor Kai Han from Hong Kong University to be our speaker. And Dr. Kai Han is an assistant professor in the School of Computing and Data Science at the University of Hong Kong, where he directs the Visual AI Lab. His research interests lie in computer vision, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. His current research focuses on open world learning, 3D vision, generative AI, foundation models, and their relevant fields and applications. Previously, he was a visiting faculty researcher at Google Research and assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Bristol, and a postdoc researcher in the VGG group at the University of Oxford. He received his PhD degree in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Hong Kong. During his PhD, he also works at the Waylo team of INRIA Paris and Ankle Normals Superior in Paris. He is an IEEE senior member and also serves as an area chair for CDPR, ECC, ICR. So let's welcome Professor Kan Hai to give us his latest research.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wang, for the kind of introduction, and also thanks for the invitation. So before I start, may I ask, like, how is the QA range like? Should I, wait until the end, or we can just interrupt anytime? I'm fine with any of the mode.
Let's just wait until the end of your presentation.
Okay, because I'm going to cover 3 topics, so I possibly will pause a little bit in between, and then maybe we can have some mini Q&A session there, and
or whichever you prefer. Yeah, whichever you prefer.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. Okay, right. Then okay. So yeah, I'm very glad to be here to share our recent works on open world visual concept discovery and generation. So basically, I'm going to cover 3 of our recent works. So SPTNet, Prompticity, and also Concept Express. So SPTNet is an efficient alternative framework for generalized category discovery with spatial prompt tuning. This is a method developed for generalized category discovery. And the second work is a method for learning Gaussian mixture prompt pool for continual category discovery. So it's a different a type of category discovery where we emphasize the continual nature of the problem. The last one is about harnessing diffusion models for a single image unsupervised concept extraction. So this part is more relevant to using the diffusion models. How do we leverage the diffusion models? And the first 2 are more about how do we leverage the vision foundation models to do the task of category discovery. All right, so let's start with the first one. After learning a few animal categories, a child can tell an unseen animal category. For example, here, after observing a cat and dog, a child can easily tell, oh, when there is a new animal species, for example, bird, and the child can easily tell, oh, this is something new, some new animal, which I haven't seen before. But for a long period of time, machine learning models, if we train the model with label data such as cat and dog, and afterwards when the model encounters some new images from new categories, for example, these birds, and the model can still only be able to predict cat and dog, and with very, very high confidence. So machines heavily rely on the human annotations, do not have the ability to automatically learn new concepts. So that's a problem we want to address. On the one hand, it is not possible to annotate data from all possible categories, given that we have a huge amount of unlabeled data. And on the other hand, new categories keeps growing over time. For example, the products in the supermarket, and also the different COVID virus that we have suffered before. Then we introduce this problem called novel category discovery. We want to discover novel object categories in an image collection. For example, here in this labeled data containing new categories, and we want to learn a model so that it can not only recognize an image from this, but also discover the categories from the unseen the unlabeled data containing the new categories. So this is our initial effort. So we learn some model using the labeled images from certain known categories, for example, cat and dog. Then we transfer the model to the unlabeled data from novel categories, for example, here, monkey and birds. And then afterwards, we hope that the model can recognize or to cluster birds and monkey according to their semantics. So that's the idea behind. We have made quite a few efforts along this line of work. So yeah, but unlabeled instance may also come from old classes. So we haven't taught this before. So what if the unlabeled instance come from both old and the new classes? So this is a more realistic setting. Then this problem can actually be described in a very succinct way here. Given a data set, a subset of which has has class labels, categorize all the unlabeled images in the data set, and the unlabeled images may come from labeled or novel classes. Then we again made a few, starting from our baseline method, we made some efforts along this line work. And today I'm going to introduce our one of our very recent work, SPTNet, on this task. So it's an efficient alternative framework for generalized category discovery with spatial prompt tuning. Based on our previous two series of studies, we found two very important insights. The first one is representations with strong generalizing properties achieve better GCD performance. This is the first key insight. The second one is object parts are an effective vehicle to transfer knowledge between seen and unseen categories. So the first is a feature, very generalizable feature is very important. The second, object parts are very important for knowledge transfer between seen and unseen. So based on this, we try to come up with a better method to solve the GCD problem. And previous GCD works focus on model parameters overlooking the potential of data itself. For example, the typical fine-tuning pipeline. So we fine-tune the model parameters to certain downstream tasks like recognition or GCD. And there are also some other works try to learn some linear probing head on top of some frozen backbone and try to do some downstream tasks. So all these, they are focusing on the model parameters. And there are also some methods that can work for the data parameter learning, for example, this VPT. But this is the aim of such design is to try to adapt the pre-trained model to do some downstream tasks like recognition or other relevant tasks, not necessary for the GCD. And there are also some prompt learning method like this. So adding some extra learnable parameters around the image and then try to do some downstream tasks. Now, they are good designs, but they can't work for the GCD task because they didn't consider the cross-class transferability, which is important for the GCD task. So to solve the problem, we actually introduced this alternative framework. So first, it consists of two stages. First, in the first stage, we freeze the feature extractor, the feature backbone, and also some head layers, some projection layers. So this higher level layer contains certain projector and also the MLP. And here we can simply take some existing pre-trained vision foundation models, for example, the Dino foundation model, and then we add some learnable prompts in addition to the data, and then we train the prompt in the first stage. So we freeze the model parameters and train the prompt. Then in the second stage, we train the model parameters and freeze the prompt and also some lower layers of the model. So then we train the model parameters here. Basically, for a transformer network, for a VIT type of model, we train the last marker block of the transformer plus the higher level of the model. So we do this two-step training alternatively and to converge. So that's the key idea of the framework. Then we also introduce a new type of prompt tuning called spatial prompt tuning. So the design is like this. We actually inject some small number of learnable parameters into the image patches. For each little image patch, we have certain learnable parameters surrounding the patch. So we have such a design, and so the key motivation is we want to let the prompt to be more aware of the object parts, because parts are important for cross-class transferability, as we described earlier. And on top of this, we also have the global prompt. So in addition to this, we also add this global prompt, so that the model will also have kind of like a global awareness of the image content. So the SPT, this design, serves as a learnable data orientation that enables the model to focus on local operator regions, and also we have the global awareness, because both global and the local features are important in decision making. To train the model, we have this loss function. So for the unlabeled data, we have the unlabeled contrastive learning, and also the cross entropy loss. For the labeled data, we have the supervised contrastive learning, and also the cross entropy loss on the supervised and on the labeled data. And in addition, we have this little term, this regularization term. So this is a mean entropy maximization regularizer. The purpose of this term is to encourage the model to make predictions for all classes, not only one or two or very few of them, to avoid the shortcuts, so to avoid the trivial solution. So this is the idea of having this regulation term. And then experiment. So we have this is a data set that we conducted our experiments on. So we have the CFA 10, CFA 100, image 100, Herbarium 19, which is a very challenging long tail data set. And we also have CUB bird data set, and also the Stanford car data set, and also FGVC aircraft data set. And here here are some of the statistics about labeled data. So these are the number of images in each of the labeled data set, and also here are the number of labeled classes. And here is the number of unlabeled images in each data set, and here are the number of total classes in the unlabeled data. So there could be some known classes and also some unknown classes. All right, so here are our results on the generic data set. So for these, the first three data set, they are generic data set, because they are not like the fine-grained data set from one particular meta class, but for the last four, they are a fine-grained data set. So when we talk about generic data set, we mean so CFA 10, CFA 100, and the ImageNet 100. So here are our results. So the all results mean the results on all the unlabeled data, and old means the results on the unlabeled data from the known categories, and the new means the unlabeled data from new categories. So all results means an overall indicator of the performance. So as we can see, our method actually works almost the best for most of the cases. And this is even more of the case for the fine-grained data set. So for fine-grained data set, our method is a state of the art, so across the board for all the cases. So here. Then this is the ablation study for our method. So we have this is the baseline, a very good G-state baseline, SIM-GCD. And so without introducing anything, if we just leverage the existing BPT method, as we mentioned earlier, and then it even will cause some performance drop. But if we add the global prompt only, and we can observe certain improvements for the overall performance, and a bit more obvious improvement on the new classes, but it will cause a little drop on the old classes. But if we add our SPT, and it will lead to improvement on all cases. although not very significant, but later on, if we add our alternative training pipeline, and it will give us a better improvement. So it will give, with our alternative training, it will actually improve the performance for all the cases. So here, these are different configurations for the prompt design. This is a global only, and this is a shared local prompt, because we have the local prompt of the same size for different patches. So we can also share these parameters for different patches. Then this is what we mean by the shared. So it will further reduce the number of parameters for the prompt. And then we can also observe the clear performance improvement here. And if we apply the SPT, and it will also give us a good performance improvement. Then finally, if we have our shared plus global, and then with alternative training, it will give us a relatively good improvement. But the best performance is achieved by using the SPT design plus the global, and with the alternative training, then we get the best performance improvement. So this is a t-SNE visualization. So this is a t-SNE visualization on CFAR 10. As we can see, this is a t-SNE for SIMGST. This is SIMGST plus VPT. So add the prompt visual prompt tuning technique, and then this is a SPT with the local only. So local only SPT, and this is a SPT plus the global, and then this is our final method result. As you can see, it's actually more discriminative from the t-SNE if you look at the t-SNE results. Then here's a bit of visualization on the different attention head from the transformer model. Then we can see from the SIMGD. So sometimes it will, for the especially for the unseen data, sometimes it will focus on some irrelevant background region. And if we add the global prompt, it is not solving the problem as well. But if we add our SPT, and then it will have more attention on the objects. So later, if we have both global and local, and then the attention will be focusing more on the object region, and then there will be less cases falling onto the background region. So to summarize, this is the 3 key contributions of the SPT. So first, we introduce this learning framework to learn data parameters and model parameters alternatively for GCD. The second is we introduce a new form of learnable prompts to effectively transfer knowledge from seen to unseen categories, which is essential for GCD. And the last one is the state-of-the-art performance. So then that's all for the SPT. Maybe I can pause here for 1 minute, and then to see if we have any questions.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a general question. It's about the segmentation, about the classification. For example, have some foundation model clip, and it can have a very high performance on open vocabulary. So what's the difference, for example, SPT-NET or some clip open vocabulary methods?
Right.
Like that.
So so for clip, it's actually it's a pre-trained using image and text pairs, right? So it's a feature alignment model, very strong feature alignment model. But here for our method, we didn't introduce clip, although we conducted the experiment on clip. I will mention a bit later why we didn't consider that as our default feature backbone. Here, what we used is a pure vision foundation model, which is a Dino. Dino is a self-supervised vision model, so it's conducting the contrastive learning of image pairs, right? Just like the different orientation of the image, and so not introducing any labels. However, if we of course, with the clip itself is also a strong foundation model, we can also use clip. But the problem for clip is we have the image and text pairs, right? So we have the kind of like the very strong kind of like supervision already. So try to align text and image, and we have kind of like a huge amount of pre-training data, that means perhaps the model already seeing the so-called unseen images in the GCD setting. And then this actually will lead to some data contamination problem. And then what we mean by unseen is perhaps being seen by the CLIP model already. So that's why we didn't use CLIP. But the one interesting thing is we actually conducted the experiment using CLIP, and we expect that will give us very good performance since there has been, the chance that the model has seen the data already. But the problem is that it turns out that CLIP is not that strong as we expected at the from our results. So there could be some further investigation needed. Not only our investigation, but also there is also another paper called CLIP GCD. They also did the experiment, and we also found that their results simply applying CLIP is not that good. So they also introduced some other additional technique to improve that.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so good. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so if no more questions, then let's move on to the next work about prompt toxicity.
Can I ask you one thing?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, thank you for the great presentation. And I have a question about the proposed method. As far as I know, GCD is also widely used in the domain of the LiDAR. So I wonder whether it can be utilized in the LiDAR domain beside the image domain. And what will be the challenge if you apply this proposed method to the LiDAR domain?
So I think if you want to apply this, for example, our particular method at SPTNet to LiDAR data, and the first thing is about the how do you achieve the strong feature backbone. And perhaps you can still use, for example, the dyno feature, but I think you might need to do certain adaptation, some additional adapters to try to use try to leverage the learned features from the vision model to the LiDAR data. So that's one thing. I think if that is solved, then I think half of the problem is solved already. But still, considering the special property of LiDAR data, there could be some other properties that we can leverage as well. So it depends on the data. I think, but in general, I think this technique can be applicable for LiDAR data as well. So I didn't see, aside from the feature that I think it's quite unlikely that we can directly apply this, nature image feature to the LiDAR data. There should be certain adaptation here. Aside from this part, I think for the rest, I think should be directly applicable.
Thank you for the response.
Sure. Okay, so then maybe let's move on to the next work about prompt toxicity. So far we have considered this, GCD problem, which can be regarded as a static, problem, that we have a static data set here. We have the label data and unlabeled data, and we want to assign labels for them. But in practice, it is often the case that we will encounter data in the form of strings. So we will have a streaming data. So for example, at this current moment, we will receive certain unlabeled data, and in another time step, we will receive another collection of unlabeled data, so on and so forth. So we will keep receiving the unlabeled data. So that's another problem. I think is very practical. So this is the continual category discovery that we are going to consider here. And then this is a task that this method is trying to address. So in continual category discovery, or CCD, the model receives the label set at the initial stage and is tasked to discover categories from the unlabeled data in the subsequent stage. So we only have access to the labeled data at time step 0. And then for all the subsequent time step 1, 2, 3, etc., and then we only we need to do the category discovery continuously. So there are certain challenges here. So the first challenge is obviously the category discovery. How can we do category discovery well in this continuous setting? And the second is about the catastrophic forgetting, which is the model often forget what's being learned badly, even in the scenario of supervised continuous learning. And let alone here we are handling this data in an unsupervised way, so it is problematic. And then the last problem is how can we estimate the category number in the label data stream? So this is another problem. And then our motivation is here. Again, we want to try to leverage the foundation models, for example, Dino and its variants, Dino V1, V2, and so how to repurpose the foundation models for the CGD task, because it's not trained for GCD, right? But it has the good representation as we have studied before. But one idea is obvious. Okay, can we do prompting? Can we prompt the model to let it do this task? But how? This is a key question. If we look at the the previous GCD works, so we find that existing GCD works that they cannot handle the continuous data stream, but only static data. So this is why the GCD method cannot directly apply to this continuous setting. And on the other hand, there are also quite a number of supervised continuous learning methods being developed for the supervised continuous learning, but they cannot handle the task of category discovery, where we are trying to discover new categories in the unlabeled data set. So they have in the standard supervised continuous learning, we always have the labeled data in each time step. So we keep training, and the key is to avoid forgetting. But here we, aside from the avoid forgetting problem, we also have the challenge of how to do the class discovery. Yeah, and also there are some prompting-based method leveraging foundation models to do the supervised continuous learning, but the prompt design is not scalable to accommodate new classes. So this is why this method cannot directly be applied to the continuous category discovery or CCD. But taking inspirations from existing work and also our previous insight, we built a baseline. So to using the prompt, so we use similar prompt as the supervised continuous learning regime. For example, here for this prompt pool, we try to we have this prompt foundation model, and we develop certain prompt pool so that we can use this prompt, learn some prompt embeddings, and using embeddings to be the prompt, so that the foundation models can be used to do the category discovery. So the first change we made is we trained this prompt pool using the contrastive loss, because we no longer have access to the labels during the discovery stage. And then we introduce this projection hat, and we also because here we follow the design of some existing prompt pool design like L2P. So the prompt pool design here is like it's a key value pair. So each of the prompt element in the prompt pool contains two vectors. It's a key vector and also a value vector. So then, given input image, we have the some feature projection and layer, and then we have the feature embedding, and then we use this embedding to find the nearest neighbor. So for example, we have the occur point here. We find the nearest neighbor, this green, and this blue, and also this cyan color. So we have these three different nearest neighbors here. Then we can get the corresponding values, and then we use the values to be the prompt here for this particular sample. So that means for each different sample, we will have different prompts, so that the model can be kind of like adapted to do the category discovery. So that's a key idea. And then we also try to obtain the results. And so this is a baseline which we use. We just use the frozen Dino without any prompting technique, and we try to consider our initial label data plus the unlabeled data in each time step. So each time they will form a static GCD problem. So we can like accumulate the results for multiple GCD results, and then we do the average. So that's how we obtain the results for the first row. And the second and third row, there are results corresponding to different prompt design. The key idea is similar as the one that I introduced here. So the first one is L2P is the prompt design, and this DP is called do prompt. So it's an augmented version of this one. So as we can see here, actually we can obtain certain improvement using these two different prompt design into the prompt pool, but because we are aware of the problem that this baseline is lack of explicit guidance to prevent forgetting, because we didn't introduce any rehearsal type of a mechanism. So we don't have this mechanism. So the result, that's possible reason why the results not good enough. And then also it has a fixed size prompt pool design, and this actually limits the scalability, because when we have more and more new categories, and then we cannot actually accommodate them anymore. So that's the problem. And also we need to know the number of categories in order to do this. So then there are these limitations. So to address these problems, we actually introduced another prompt design, this Gaussian mixture prompt module. So instead of like learning many different key value pairs, we just learn a Gaussian mixture model, learnable Gaussian mixture model. So each of the dot here represents the mean and variance. So then we learn this Gaussian mixture model, and then we can use this as for two purposes. So first, we can use each of the mean as the class prototype. That's one thing. And so each time we can also use this to generate samples, right? We can, because this is a Gaussian mixture model, and then if we treat each mean and also their variance, and we have this value, and then we can sample the some rehearsal samples, and then we can so later I will introduce we can also leverage the property of the Gaussian mixture model, so that we can estimate the class numbers. So then we can actually solve this problem as well. And like the L2P design or the do prompt design or other prompt design, it actually has the functionality of instructions. So our GMP prompt actually has two rows. The first is instructions, and the second is prototype, class prototype. Each of the mean value represents the class prototype, and it can be used to generate samples for rehearsal, and this is important to avoid forgetting. And then it can also enable us to do the on-the-fly category and number estimation, which I introduce in later. So here is an overview of framework. So we have the label data in time step 0, and then we can do the rehearsal. So I introduced here how do we do the rehearsal, but here this is one time step and not time step, and so on and so forth. So take this time step as example, and we have this is our Gaussian mixture prompt pool. It's only like for each prompt vector, it's just like a single vector. It's no longer a pair of key and value anymore. So we simplified the design, and also we have less parameters to learn, because now instead of learning loads of those vector pairs, we just learn the prototypes. So learn those mean variance vectors. So with this, what we can do is we can use it to, so for the current time step, we can use our GMM prompt pool learned in the previous time step to generate some synthetic samples to do the rehearsal, and together we can actually use this to fit our new GMM prompt pool in the current time step. So this is how it works. So we have the input image, and then we send it to the model, and then we can obtain the corresponding prompt, and then we can instruct the model to do the category discovery. And on the other hand, we can also use these samples to avoid forgetting. So this is how it works. So to zoom into this part, this is how the GMM prompt pool is used. So we have the query feature. So here we omitted a bit of a feature extractor here. So but here we have it. So basically we use the feature vector corresponding to the COS token of the transformer. So for transformer VIT, so we have the COS token and also the tokens corresponding to each image patches, and then we here we take the feature corresponding to the COS token to do the query. So to do the query from our Gaussian mixture prompt pool, then we can use our retrieved prototypes to serve as our prompt. Basically, we take the top k mean values in our Gaussian mixture model. Then they become our prompt like that, and no key and value pairs anymore. So that's how we use it, and so then we can obtain our category declarative model. On the other hand, we can also introduce a split and merge mechanism here in our Gaussian mixture prompt pool to estimate the class number. So this is how we do it. So the idea is if we find that the two classes are too close to each other, so they are very here it's like if we find in one cluster they can actually be separated into two. That means we should separate them, and this that means they are not so compact. They actually form two different little clusters. Then we should split them, and if we find that two clusters, if they are heavily cluttered with each other, and then we should merge them. So that's the idea behind this mechanism. And to achieve this, we just use an MC algorithm with Hastings ratio, which is some value that we can use to determine we can estimate the compactness of the data points in the cluster or between clusters, and then we can decide whether to split one cluster or merge two clusters. So we do this based on this Hastings ratio. So that's the idea, and also this is one of the benefits introduced by the Gaussian prompt pool design. Then so that's the whole design of our method. And here are the data splits for the experiment. So we experiment on CFAR 100, ImageNet 100, a TinyImageNet. This is Caltech 101, the aircraft, and also S-cars and the CUB dataset. So here we have the class split. So this is class split. So it's for label data, unlabeled data, in time step 1, time step 2, and time step 3, so on and so forth. So that's, and also this is a unlabeled data. Okay, so that's how we split data. So in each time step, how many unlabeled instances do we have, and how many classes do we have? And to evaluate the performance of model, we also introduce a evaluation metric to support the evaluation. So we basically after learning, we use the semi-supervised k-means to run on each of the subset, each of the unlabeled data collection, accumulate the results. So we have our model and data sets. So then we have our label set and unlabeled set. So in the beginning, we only have the performance of our label data, and then we keep running this SS k-means, and we keep append our results to the final results, and eventually we compute the average results, because we need to consider the continual nature of the problem. If we just do static GCD, and it will not consider the error accumulation problem. So here, because we are considering the continuous problem, so we want to consider the accumulated accuracy, not only in one time step, and this average. Here is like, if you made some mistake in the previous step, it's there, and you're going to also do the evaluation for the subsequent steps, conditioned on the previous result, so that you will have the a proper measurement for the continual error. Anyway, so in a nutshell, we can still consider that as just the the discovery accuracy or classification accuracy. So here we compare different designs. So the first row is the baseline, and then the baseline, by baseline I mean just using the frozen dyno and try to treat each step as a static GCD. And then the last 3 rows shows the different design of the prompt. If we substitute different design of prompt into our model, and we can see L2P and the dual prompt, they can give us some improvement. But if we look at the GMP results, it's significantly better than the other 2 design. So the same for both the coarse gram dataset and the generic dataset, and also this is a fine gram dataset. This is another generic dataset, but with many more classes. Okay, here is a benchmarking results comparing with all the previous methods, and we can see that our method actually achieve much better results than them on all the data sets. So the coarse grain data set and also fine grain data set, and here are the average results. So in all cases. Also, we try to here we also try to compare our method with under the case of unknown categories, because our method allows the estimation of the unknown categories. So we compare. So the first row shows our estimated category number. So in order to compare with our method, because our method cannot handle the unknown categories number, so we just substitute our estimated category number to existing method so that they can run, and then we can do this comparison. And then, as we can see, our method eventually achieves the best results again. And here we try to try to ablate different design of the prompt. For example, if we don't have the prompt without the GMP prompt in our design, it is a result like that. And if we use just random K, it will have certain effects, but not as significant as if we use a top K design in our method. And here is an ablation on different top K, different choice of K, and also different GMM samples that we use to do rehearsal. And so another analysis we did is we tried to also apply our GMP design to other methods to see if our GMP design can improve other methods. The answer is yes. So this is a method called ground merge. So if without GMP, these are the performances. And if we introduce our GMP on top of this method, it will give a very clear improvement. And the same holds true for the other for the method GC as well. And but again, our prompt GCD gives the best performance. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, seems not. Then let's move on. So here is the conclusion. So first, we introduced this novel prompt learning framework for CCD, adapting VM foundation models to address CCD. It's called prompt CCD. Then we also introduced the GMP module. It's a specialized prompting module for CCD, utilizing the learnable GMM as a prompt pool. And additional GMP enables the on-the-fly category estimation and making it well suited for handling the CCD task. And lastly, it achieved the state-of-the-art performance. Yeah, so that's for prompt CCD. So do you have any questions here? Okay. Right. So if no questions, then let's move on to the last work about concept express. So harnessing diffusion models for single image unsupervised concept extraction. I'm sure that all we have, have been amazed by the generated images by different Gen AI models, especially those text image generation models. So, for example, stability diffusion models by Stability AI. So when I first saw that, I was extremely amazed by the generated images like those, and also Google's imaging model released in 2022. So given the text, and we can actually generate those amazing images. So I'm sure many of you might have seen this as well, because this is the latent diffusion models of the framework. So we have the forward adding noise process and also a backward denoising process, so that we can actually train the diffusion models. And this is the design of the LDM. So we have the X and we have the encoder, and then we have this diffusion UNet, and we have our decoder here, and we have the decoded image. And then here, the important element inside is this diffusion denoising UNet. And then because this is how we control the conditions. If we want to do text to image generation, we need to condition our text, images, and other semantic map, text map, or whatsoever, or other layout type of thing into this module. Okay, so I just give a very brief recap for this. And then what we are interested in, we want to learn some visual concept using some pre-trained diffusion model. And this is one of the relevant work. So what they did is they actually take this set of images of this statue as input, and they try to learn a S-star token associated with this. Basically, it's a learned embedding associated with this S-star. And then after learning that S-star, when we input the text, say an oil painting of S-star, and then it is going to be able to generate an image of this object following the text instruction. So that's the key idea. That's the overall idea. So here the task is, so that they can also do all the different type of generation icon of S-star, or other type of generation. So for another example here, they can learn this toy concept, and then they can generate paintings of two S-star fishing on a boat, or an S-star backpack, or Banksy art of S-star, things like that. So basically here, what they are doing, they are trying to learn a single concept from an image collection, and afterwards they can use this learned concept plus other text conditions to generate a new image. So that's a key story here. There are other improved methods, for example, this dream boost, and there are a few other subsequent works trying to improve over this method to better concept extraction, single concept extraction from multiple images. So that's sorry. But what if we want to learn multiple visual concepts from a single image? Because it's often the case that we have a single image containing multiple objects inside the image, and then what if we want to learn these different concepts from the image? For example, here they have these images containing, let's say, this statue, and also the bow, and also a stove, or other stuff. So, and then we want to learn each of these concepts, but there is a method called break-async that requires the concept mask to be provided. So they need to provide the object mask, so that you need to know, okay, which concept to learn. That's a key information that is required in this method. So it can be considered as a supervised concept learning. So you need to specify where to learn which concept. But it's often the case we don't know this information, and it's also not that easy or not that straightforward for an arbitrary user to really to provide this information. So what we are interested in is we want to do a supervised concept extraction. So we don't want to to have the object mask and the other information. So what we want to do is we really want to give it a single image, and can we extract the visual concept in it without any information in unsupervised read. So that's what we want to do. So given this image, we know this we have this R2D2 and there's a C3PO and also sand. So these two robots and the sand in this picture. This is a picture from Star Wars, and we want to learn. So given this single image, we want to learn concept of them and in unsupervised read. So by unsupervised, we mean no concept description and also no object masks and no instance numbers. So by the way, in the previous slide, you also need to provide some hints for the objects and to also provide the mask, and the mask itself is already telling us how many objects are there. So we don't want to use any of this information. We just want to have a single image, and then we can automatically get all these concept descriptors. So here is a design of our method. So we have the first we have our image, and our framework actually consists of two stages. The first stage is a concept localization. So given the image, and we use the self-attention map, and we based on the clustering on the self-attention map, we manage to get the different regions for the object. So we can localize the object automatically. And then the second part is about the concept learning. So we learn these text tokens for the corresponding concepts that we actually localized in our localization stage. So that's the overall idea. And then we can localize the concept automatically and also learn the concept automatically so that we can address the aforementioned problems. First, how do we do the concept localization? So first, we can extract all the self-attention map, even not only in a single layer, but in multiple attention layers, because the attention maps will give us like a H by W by H by W map. Okay, then we just we squeeze the first H by W dimension, and we do the clustering along, by considering all the rest as a whole, the second H by W, and then we can do the clustering. Then after doing the clustering, we have some initial segmentation like this. Then we have a rough awareness of there is an object, or maybe it's a bit over segmented, but then we have some filtering mechanism to refine this stage. So the first step is about the background filtering. We use the end of text token to filter out some background patches. So because we found in one of our previous studies that the end of text token, it can actually attend to the object regions very well. So what we did here is we use this end of text token to correlate itself with the whole map, and then we can get certain values, and then we treat the average of this the average value of this entire map as a threshold, and we use this to filter out the background. Then the remaining regions will be something like that. Okay, so then we have like less, because for the background regions they don't contain much concept, but if we still keep them in the clustering process, they will actually affect our clustering results. So it may deviate the clustering results from the concept that we actually care about. Then we filter with the filtered mask, we rerun our clustering, recluster again, and then we can get better clustering results. And then this is like with this we can now achieve better clustering results. Okay, for the then we can get the refined localization results of the concept. So that's how we do it. Here are some visualization of the localization results. So here are the input images, and then if we use the k-means on the attention map, and then this is what we can get. And then if we use a Finch method, and it is like that. The results are better than the k-means, but if we use our method, it can give us a better performance. All right, so that's about concept localization. Now, concept learning. So basically, we want to learn the V star as we show in the previous plot. So those embedding, they correspond to the concept, but we don't want to provide any initial words, because in the previous work they will provide some hints. Okay, I know this is a statue, this is a bow, and they start learning from that information. But we don't want to do that. We just want to do everything automatically. So we don't provide any initial words. Then what we do is starting from this, we instead of learning a single embedding or a single concept vector for one concept, we learn multiple of them. It's like query expansion. So we learn multiple of these concepts, multiple of these vectors. Then afterwards, we accumulated them by, let's see, a simple averaging. And then we use the averaged concept vector as our result. That turns out to be better than if you just learn a single concept. So this is how we do it. And this is the standard denoising loss. So what we learn is really this concept here. And this MI represents the localized concept mask that we obtained in the previous stage. All right, so that's how we do it. And then here we just show a little comparison to see. So the second row shows the result using with our split and merge. By split and merge, I mean this one. This split and merge strategy. So we split the concept into 3 and then merge them into 1. So with this split and merge, we actually can obtain better results. For example, the traffic light is more like traffic light here, and yeah, well, consistently. But for if we just use a single concept, a single vector, it oftentimes that will give us some irrelevant, confusing results. For example, this one and this one. Okay. Right. So here are some qualitative results of the method. So this is a Buddha. So it's a and then we have the statue, and we also have the mountain. So we have these 3 concepts. So if we use a Brickersing method, and this is the results. If we use our method, this is a result. We can see that our method actually achieves better results. Then here there are 2 little robots here, and then here are the results of the Brickersing. Here are our results. As we can see, our results are more aligned with the actual concept in the original image. All right, so I'm going to skip the other results. So we actually collected some data from Unsplash in order to do the evaluation, and we also used so we denote this as D1, and we also use the 7 images provided in a Brickersing paper for our evaluation. And then we have this comparison. So for the metric, so it's identity similarity and also compositionality similarity, and also this classification accuracy. We actually our method actually performs the best, so consistently. We use both the clip feature and also the dyno feature for the evaluation. Then we also tried to do certain generation. For example, here we have this source image containing R2D2 and a 3CPO, and then we have these. This is their individual concept. Then we can say, okay, let's see, V1 in the jungle and the V2 in the jungle, and then we will get the very vivid results. And we can see, okay, V1 in the snow and V2 in the snow, and the V1 with a sunset and the V2 with a sunset. So we can obtain fairly good results. And we can also compose them together. For example, V1, V2 with a wheat field, and V1, V2 among skyscrapers. So we can produce these different results with this learned concept from the image. We did some user study, so to evaluate the performance. And aside from 2 of the examples, for the rest, our method achieves better results. And here are more results. Okay. All right. So that's I think that's all about the concept express. And yeah. So do you have any questions?
Yeah. And I have a question. It's a very good paper about
Sure,
the
thanks.
text prompt generation, but about the concept, the learning or concept express, there is a very straightforward extension. Do you try some downstream tasks like image editing or something like that? Because, for example, in the paper, in the source image, there have different objects, and they can maintain some objects or replace some objects. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we have some separate work focusing on image editing, but for this one, we can also do certain image editing, as you said. One thing we didn't do before for this one is like we didn't try to extract, for example, remove this concept from the image, and we still want to keep the original content. We didn't try that, but I think this is feasible and doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
because if you can extract the concept from for example in this localization, and then I think it's easy. You can just to replace a similar object.
Yeah, agree. I think this is definitely doable. And but what we didn't do this application in this particular paper, because we did have other papers that we focus on image editing. But I'm sure this is doable. But we need to, for example, as the idea you mentioned is for example, we just take this out, and we need to remove this, and we renoise it and denoise it, and then we can get the filled up images. For example, we can like remove the object from the content already. We can do this for sure. We didn't try this directly, but I think it's doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
My second question is about the automatic stopping point. For example, in the post clustering, and if the text prompt can be some toy or some toy's hand, how to control, we need to merge or split some different areas.
Right. So because for here, for this, you mean the localization, the clustering in the localization?
Yep. And the first is about localization, but the point is about that, for example, there has a whole object, but sometimes we just need to find, for example, toy's hand, only hand, not body.
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't do this fine detailed control.
Yeah.
We didn't try that. So what we did is we try to rely on what's being learned in the pre-trained diffusion model. Most of the time that it will be the object as a whole. So that's most of the time this is the case. But if we want to extend this to some fine grain, I think there should be some more work to be done. Either we provide, let's say, more detailed instruction, or provide certain hints that we want to focus on the local parts. Because even now in our clustering algorithm, we kind of try to encourage them to merge the connected components. If you're considering, let's say, a hand part, let's say a hand and arm and the things like that, and very likely they will be connected by our clustering algorithm, because currently one detail I didn't mention previously is that we actually also considered the distance, the geometric distance between different attention parts during the clustering. So this is one element that we consider during the cluster, together with the attention map, the distance between the attention maps. So we consider both during the clustering, so that eventually we can connect them. So all these connected components will connect it together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for your answer and nice presentation.
Sure.
I have one question.
Sure.
What if you just use like model like segment anything to separate those objects? Like, does it work better or worse?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Actually, we did try segment anything because we can. So the short answer is yes, we can. But the thing is, we don't want to. The reason is we want to avoid introducing any extra models so that we can call it unsupervised. And then we indeed have certain results. Let me see if we have the results for segment anything for comparison. Okay, I didn't put here in the slide, but we did have the experiment results using the segment anything. And the answer is that we don't have further gains if we use a segment anything mask. They can produce very good mask for sure, but we can't get the actual gains for the concept learning anymore, because our localized mask is already good enough. And we didn't include that because that will introduce an additional model, and this model is actually very strong. So, but if we have that, of course, we will simplify the problem, and it can like more closer to the original Berkeley paper. So we just want to have a method which is a kind of like a standalone method that can do everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. Yeah, if no more questions here, and then further question here, and I can briefly introduce a bit about the other stuff that our lab is currently doing. So today I have introduced mostly about the open world learning. So we talked about the category discovery, and we also talked about the concept extraction and generation. So we actually work on open world learning, 3D vision, generative AI, and also foundation models. These are 4 big areas in our lab. So we work on these open world learning topics, including NCD, GCD, and open set recognition, auto-diffusion detection, so on and so forth. So on images, and also we also work on video data. So for 3D vision, we work on human digitalization, and we also work on SLAM. It's about scene reconstruction, and we also have certain other 3D related tasks like 3D scene segmentation, photometric theater, so on and so forth. So this is one of our last year's CPR work on the visual SLAM. So it's a generalizable visual SLAM system. This is also our last year's CPR work. It's on text to 3D generation. And then for the Gen AI, we actually worked on the like the texture inversion. We worked on the single concept learning from multiple images, but we want to maintain the identity of the input. And we also have this concept extraction and generation work. So this is another 3D head, high fidelity 3D head generation work. And here, this is about the relevant to the editing I just mentioned, because we had this work that we want to do the image editing. So we select a region, and we want to drag it so that the content will be edited. For example, here we have this lady's hair, and then we select this region and we drag it, and then it will make the hair longer. And then this process is actually similar to what we have discussed in previously about how do we remove the one concept. So it's sharing a similar idea, but here we do editing in this way, in a different way. So we select one region and drag it. So we have a different base mask method to do this. So for example, here this is a landscape picture. We select one region and drag it, and it will tend to be realistic, and also the lady's dress. Yeah, we also worked on foundation models. So when firstly when we saw the amazing capability of the language models, and we tried to, because language models were considered as word models, then we tried to evaluate how much the language models know about our words. So what we did is we tried to benchmark the language models' capabilities on understanding our geography. So we try to design a certain factual task. For example, here, this is the MTR map of Hong Kong. And then we try to ask the model to actually rebuild the MTR map of Hong Kong. If we directly ask this question, it won't give us the correct results. But we later on we found some very tricky ways to do this. So we first ask it to give us location coordinates of the stations and the names, and also more importantly, we need the model to give us in the form of a Python list. And then we're going to be able to plot these stations. Eventually, we managed to get this map. So so this is how we managed to get it. So we found that these models, they actually have a good understanding about some factual type of information. For example, the population of one place, the area size of one place, things like that. But then we also try to, but for this information, because the models have very huge amount of parameters, so they can simply remember them. So we also try to develop some task that requires certain reasoning understanding so that they can solve it. For example, we try to carry out certain tasks about route planning or other type of similar tasks that require certain analysis so that they can give us the answer. So we did certain benchmark like that. So they are pretty good in certain sense, but not all the cases. So, but still, one problem is like we don't know how much the model is actually knowing, or the model can do this because they know how to do it, or just because they remember the certain relevant cases. So we still don't know that. And recently we also have one work that we're trying to benchmark the results, because for gaming, so we treat each of the language models as an agent so that they can play the games, and then they can because we want to see how well they can play with each other. So we try to let them beat each other. So that's a game we have been doing for a little while. So this is a benchmark work. So we try to do this benchmarking. Yeah. So yeah. So that's it for the talk. Overall, so I will also study the foundation models, try to repurpose the foundation model to do certain tasks that they cannot do, or they were not developed for. So like how we actually use the foundation model to do the GCD or CCD type of works. So that's what we have been doing. All right, so that's all, and thank you very much. I would like to happy to take more questions. Yeah, if there are more questions, and then yeah.
So if no more questions, so let's thank Dr. Kai Han's great seminar. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Wang, for the invitation, and thanks everyone.
And bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.